Hi, welcome to Moonlit Fly Fishing's Fly Tying Night tonight. I'm Brandon Moon, and tonight we're going to be tying up a really cool salmon fly pattern. We call this the Salmonfly Stone Flopper. The Stone Flopper is originated by Fly Fish Food and the great tires that they have there. This pattern is going to produce a lot of fish for you, so we wanted to bring it to you before the hatch started this year. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. The hook we're going to be using on this is the ML411, the Moonlit Tagata series hook. This is a 2x long, 1x strong hook, so it's going to have the added weight to help even out the weight of the foam on this fly. We're going to use Salmonfly's classic wax 6/0 thread in black. We're going to start that at the 2/3 point and wrap that all the way back to the bend of the hook, where we'll trim that out with a razor blade. I love razor blades to trim certain things out. Gives me a nice clean cut. We're going to then take Salmonfly's burnt orange barred legs, silly legs, and I'm going to tie that in on the side of this. And I'm going to do this technique so that I can get a nice splayed leg effect at the end. I'm going to wrap that forward, keeping it at on the side of the hook shank instead of pulling it up on top. And this is going to help me keep that all nice and smooth and a nice tapered even body here as well. So we'll wrap that up to that 2/3 point. We're going to make sure we cinch that down so that when we pull the legs back to go back the other way and create that nice V shape, that it creates a nice smooth body. We'll go back to the back here, and I'm going to do some crisscrossing wraps to help keep these legs splayed apart, going underneath and over, and then over the top and under, so that I get a good crisscross to help splay those legs out, and then a few wraps underneath to help prop that leg up, or the tail up just a little bit. Next, we're going to take and trim our tail off so that it's nice. We don't want to pull this silly leg, because if we pull the silly leg, it's going to shrink it up. So here you have, we want that tail to be about half the length of the hook shank. I'm going to take Salmonfly's Black Peacock quill substitute in small for my ribbing here. For the body, I'm going to take Salmonfly's Dry Fly Poly Yarn in Sunburst Orange for the orange body effect, underbody on your salmon fly. I'm going to take, and I want that Dry Fly Poly Yarn to go all the way up that 2/3 point so that I get an even body on this when I wrap. I'm just going to take and secure that down all the way back real quick, and then I'll go back forward again. So we'll go back up to the 2/3 point where we're going to half hitch this so we can use the rotary feature on our vise. Set our thread off up to the side on the bobbin rest, where we'll take the Dry Fly Poly Yarn and just wrap it, even touching wraps all the way up that 2/3 point. Make sure you remember to put your peacock substitute, quill substitute in your material clips so that it doesn't get in the way. We'll wrap that up to that 2/3 point where we're going to tie that off. And we're just going to secure that down with some wraps over the top. And then we'll pull it back, and a few wraps in front, kind of pulling it to the back. I'll trim that out with my scissors. Now I'm going to take my peacock quill substitute, split my tail just a little bit, and start wrapping and we'll start wrapping our rib. We want to make sure we don't pull our tail back and pull it down when we wrap this. So you can see that it's going to give me a nice good rib type look effect here. Wrap that all the way to that 2/3 point over the top, pull it back just like we did the Dry Fly Poly Yarn, and we'll secure that down, trim it out with our razor blade. Now we're going to take some black 2mm tine foam with the tip already cut to a little bit of a point. I'll measure that down just past the bend of the hook. I'm going to give that a good couple wraps to secure it down, lock it in place in front, one more over the top just for good measure. We'll trim that out right at that point. I'm going to take and trim a little angle here so that I can secure this down really nice and tight. Do that so that it doesn't really want to move. I'll pull that up, take some Loctite super glue. I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on the top of this body here. This is just going to help this foam overwing from flopping. Make sure you push it down, give it some pressure so that it adheres to that super glue. I'm going to turn it over, take the same 2mm foam, line it up right there at the point where it meets that 2/3 point. We'll just secure that down, cinching it down with our thread, nice and tight. As soon as I've secured that down, I'm going to measure this off just a little bit and trim that foam out so that it's out of the way and I don't have too much foam. Take the same foam again, do the same thing on top. This is going to give me my foam bullet type head on this pattern. We'll secure that down nice and tight again, just like we did before. Once we've got that done, we're going to take some Hog Wing in Teton, which is a brown black type mixture. We'll take a clump of it, and I'm going to take and secure that down. I've measured it so that it goes just past that body, the tail there, just a bit. We'll wrap it all the way up. I'm going to pull that back, and I'm flattening out my poly yarn so that it splays out instead of just a nice big clump. I want it to give a nice wing type effect. You can see that it's nice and splayed. We'll trim that out just a little bit. Now we've got our wing tied in. We're going to take the burnt orange Salmonfly silly legs, measure just back to the back of that body there. I'm going to secure that down. I'm going to wrap that nice up into the front there as well. We'll pull the leg off and back around, measure it back to the back of that body again, hold it in place, and then we'll wrap it. I can adjust the angle and where the silly legs sit. I want it sitting nice and flush with the body. We'll trim that out there at the front. Now I'm going to take some Salmonfly silly legs fire orange just to give it a nice little hot spot in those legs, maybe a little bit of an added trigger point as well. So we'll take and secure that in the same way that we did the burnt orange regular legs. Now we'll take and do the opposite side. We'll secure that down. Again, I can adjust these legs so that they match. We'll trim them out. We want them to be about 1/4 of the length of our burnt orange legs. So we'll trim those legs, make sure they're at the right length. Do the one side, and then we can go and trim out the other side. Again, this is just going to give us a little bit of an added trigger point on this fly with some added movement. We'll trim both out to be about 1/4 of the length of the legs. There you go. We'll flip it back over, add a little bit more super glue so that we pull that foam back over the top. And I'm just going to, at that about that 2/3 point, I'm going to start cinching that down to create that head on this body here. I'm just going to trim that out fairly flush. And then a little bit of an angle. Not a whole lot, just a little angle there. Flip it back over. We'll add some more super glue here on the top just to help hold that in place. Pull it back. And again, we're just going to cinch that foam down nice and slow. I'm not going to do it too fast. Once I've got that, I'll trim it down. Here I've got a 1 millimeter bright orange foam for a little bit of an indicator, just so I can see it just a little bit better. We'll pull that down just a little bit, not cinch too tight. I'll take some super glue and put it on my thread here. And then I'll give it a good couple wraps and seat that glue in. This is going to help hold the legs and become my knot as well. We'll cinch that down nice and tight. I'm going to turn it over so that I can wrap it in and see where I'm wrapping there. And then I'll take and trim that thread out with my razor blade. The super glue is going to hold that in place really nice and smooth. Trim that out. And there you have the Salmonfly Stone Flopper. Thank you for watching.